See everybody. Thank you all for being here on time. Um, we have a couple of special guests with us today. The first special guest is Mr. Shane. Shane, you want to say hi to everybody?
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
No problem.
Uh, yeah, my virtual background is like weird. Okay.
No worries at all.
All right. Hi everyone. My name is Shane Paris. Some of you already have met me before. I'm just here just to take attendance mainly. But of course, it's always good to say hello to just to speak with you all briefly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shane. Shane's taking attendance because we have two guests with us today. So we just want to say hi to our guests and welcome them to our class. The first one here, is it Locksme or Laxme? Can you help me pronounce that? I'm sorry. You're on mute. If you hit the little microphone button on the bottom left, that'll unmute you, and then you can just say hello. There, you
Oh,
got it.
I didn't see that. Hi, it's Lakshmi Guru.
Hi, Lakshmi. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you sitting in on our class. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And so we can go ahead. I'll mute you for that. And then I think the iPhone is our other person. What's the person? Our other person's name, Shane?
I believe Jessica Torres.
Is that Jessica on the iPhone? If you hit the, you're on mute, iPhone / Jessica. Well, as she figures that out, we'll go ahead and get started. But thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to having you be a part of our class and observing what a project management class here at Year Up looks like. One of the things that we do is every day we have somebody serve as the assistant instructor. What that means is a person who kind of kicks off our class and shares a little bit about who they are and their background. And they help me facilitate the class. Our assistant instructor today is Chels, which doesn't look like Chels is here today. She must not be feeling well. So I can always rely on Yoel to step in when someone's out sick. So Yoel, how are you today?
Thank you for taking me in consideration, Eric. I am doing well today.
I'm so glad to hear. I want. Do you want me to ask you a fun fact? Do you want to skip that part today?
You can ask me whatever you like.
Okay, Yoel, tell us something interesting about yourself.
Something interesting about myself. When I was, throughout elementary school, I was very, very fat. So when I was
Okay.
in fifth grade, yeah, I was like very, very, very big.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was in fifth grade, I joined a soccer team,
Mm-hmm.
and in sixth grade, it was like I went into middle school as a new person because I lost a lot of weight during that summer since I
Nice.
was, doing a lot of exercise.
Yeah. Do you still play soccer?
Um, Not religiously, but I still like to play here and there.
Awesome.
I hope to play with Alex one of these days.
Oh yeah, Alex is
It's
also a
a plan.
player. Very cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a
Awesome.
plan.
We'll have a Year Up soccer meetup on Randall's Island. That'd be kind of fun. So hopefully once things clear up with COVID. Awesome, Yoel. And what is a question that you want to pose to the group?
A question that I would like to pose to the group today. Well, seeing as we're getting closer to the internship phase,
Mm-hmm.
just maybe what some companies that they would like to intern at would be, or why.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anybody have any idea?
I love that. So in the chat box, internships coming up here in the next, before we know it, like a month from now, maybe a little bit longer, but not much longer. What company would you be interested in interning if you could choose which company that you're going to go to? Put that in the chat box. Mr. Hernandez, what company would you go to?
Um, I know that JP is like one of the biggest partners that Europe works with. So
Mm-hmm.
ideally, JP or maybe even Bank of America.
Awesome.
So.
That's great. So you would either want to JP Morgan Chase or Bank of America. Resign says Mass Mutual or New York Life. Precious, I don't really have a specific place. Brian, IBM, very cool. Goldman for Dondre, JP for Sophia, and then check it, Alex. And Shane, where'd you do your internship? You know what I mean? You did JP Morgan, right?
Yes, I actually I did intern at JP Morgan. Yep, when I was a student, like
Mhm.
what, 5 years ago? Yeah, 5 years ago.
5 years hasn't been that long. Come on.
Yeah, no, it hasn't felt like it. So yeah.
And you converted. You stayed there for a couple of years after. Is that right?
Yeah, so after my internship, I was hired full time as an employee, and I worked at JP Morgan for about 2.5 years.
Excellent. Very cool. So there you go. Shane Paris, Europe success story. So, and Locksmith says JP Morgan as well. So cool. Great question. I really appreciate that one, Yoel. So let's go ahead and get started with today's class. So in the chat box, let's see how good our memories are. This was just yesterday, so I can assure you that wasn't that long ago. What is the difference between a product manager and a Scrum master? In the chat box, you can write down the difference between those two roles in project management. Scrum is the people person, Precious says. Yes, Precious, do you mind unmuting yourself and telling us what kind of personality a Scrum master needs to have in agile frameworks?
I don't want to sound wrong, but I guess it's like somebody who pay attention to other people's ideas and details instead of just, like a project manager who pay attention to like the details and not what other people think. Like,
Right. Yeah, and you never have to clause with "I don't want to sound wrong." It's totally fine if you don't get it totally right, which you did. So that's great. Precious, why do we need a Scrum master in Agile? Why is that so important to have that people person who cares for the team?
I guess to make the project more interesting, or like to hear, like I said before, like to hear other people's ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Appreciate that. Thank you, Precious. And I see that Brian wrote a good answer. Product manager focuses on the end product, even though you use the answer to answer the same words to answer the question. That's okay. We can look past that. So, Brian, unmute yourself. Why is having a product manager important in project management?
It's very important because you need someone to keep everyone in check. That's kind of like the person that you, I would say, kind of respond to and make sure everything is going accordingly to plan.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yep. Sounds great. That's really helpful. Appreciate that. Thank you. So yeah, make sure you have both and you have the people person, you have the product person, both who are able to execute on the project. All right, next question. How do teams function differently in Scrum as opposed to Waterfall? So in the last 4 or 5 weeks talking about Waterfall, now we're moving to Scrum. Teams function very differently though in Scrum. What are some of the key tenets that show their differences? Yoel, yes, they're more open to change. As you recall from yesterday, Scrum is more iterative. What that means is that it's constantly changing. You're going back to the customer, you're getting feedback, and then you're saying, okay, we're going to change this, this, and this. Yes, Tyrell, man, Tyrell, I wish I would have waited a little bit. Teams are self-organizing. Nobody could remember that detail in my earlier class. So I told them, if anybody can remember that detail, you don't have to do a discussion board this week. And Tyrell just did it, no problem. So what does that mean, Tyrell? What is a self-organizing team?
They delegate their own roles as opposed to Waterfall, where roles are delegated for them.
Exactly. The big difference is, if you recall that chart, you have the product backlog, you have the team meeting, then you have the Scrum backlog, and you do your sprint. So as opposed to Waterfall, where if Sophia is the project manager, she says, okay, Eric, Alex, Randy, you guys do this and talk to you later. That's Waterfall. Scrum is more of Sophia, Eric, Alex, and Randy sit down. We talk about how we're going to achieve this goal together. It's more collaborative. It's more flat. There's less of a hierarchy. The restart cost is low. Constant change. Excellent. So it seems like you guys have a good grasp on what we talked about yesterday. And today's topic is the idea of building the team. So let's go ahead and open up my PowerPoint. Mr. Hernandez, can you see that? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yes, sorry.
It's okay. Thank you. So building the team. All right. This information that I'm going to share with you, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is probably one of the most important lessons that you're going to learn in the entirety of your experience here at Europe. This is the 4 stages of team development done by psychologist Bruce Tuckman. And I would give this like workshop for really senior leaders in some of the companies that you guys mentioned that you'd be interested in working at, because a lot of companies have yet to figure this out. And I think it's really important that they do, because when they do, it helps their team perform at the top level that they need to. But a lot of people want to bypass the forming, storming, norming, which I'll explain what all those things are in a moment, and they want to go right to performing. But you have to get through these first few phases before you can get to the last one. So like I said, this is probably one of the most important things you'll learn about being a leader in project management. The very first stage is the forming stage. So typically in Scrum, you get a team together, and teams are complete strangers. All right, they don't know each other, they never work together, they never cross-pollinated. Maybe they see people's name like on an email or like a chat, but they never actually been in the same room together. And at that point, things are kind of like a little bit awkward, a little bit tense, but there's a lot of excitement in the air, right? So what do I call this phase? I call this the honeymoon phase. Oh, isn't that so cute? This nice couple sitting on a boat, holding hands, looking at the water. The honeymoon phase is when it's like everything's good. I love these people. I love my colleagues. They're amazing. They're such hard workers. They're incredible. We're going to get this project done. We're going to be the best Scrum team of all the Scrum teams, right? It's the honeymoon phase. And question 4, you can nod your head yes or no. Does the honeymoon phase last forever? Unfortunately, only in Hallmark movies it lasts forever. But in real life, you have what are called the storming phase. Now, this couple that were holding hands, looking at the water, are now mad at each other and frustrated because something happened. Some conflict arose. Somebody said that they were going to do this deliverable. They didn't do it. Someone said that they were going to go to that meeting. They didn't show up. Someone said that they were going to accomplish that task. They never did. And there's conflict. This happens in every relationship, personal relationships as well as professional. All of you know that have been in Europe for any amount of time, you've probably had a few storming moments, haven't you? Where you got in a group project, you thought, oh man, Randy thought, I love Eric. He's the best colleague ever. And then Eric drops the ball on something, and you think, oh my gosh, I can't stand Eric, right? That's the storming process. And then what happens next? You do the forming, the storming, and then you do the norming. All right. So imagine that Randy is my project manager. We'll say he's a Scrum master. I am on his team, and I don't show up to a Scrum meeting, 15-minute Scrum meeting on a Wednesday morning. And Randy's like, that's kind of weird. Eric normally comes to these. I wonder what's going on. Randy calls me, hey Eric, I'll make sure everything's okay. You weren't at the meeting today. Then I'm like, oh yeah, sorry. I hit some traffic and something kind of late, and I'll be there tomorrow. And Randy says, okay, that's fine. Just please, you have to let me know when you're not going to attend the meetings, because you're a pivotal part of this team. And if you don't make it, then our whole team suffers. Yep, Randy, absolutely agree with you. I'll be there tomorrow. You have my word. Now, tomorrow comes. And guess who's not at the Scrum meeting? Yep, Eric's not there. Now Randy has a problem, doesn't he? Because one time, sure, we're humans. We miss meetings. It happens. But 2 days in a row after I said, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. Don't worry about it. So, Ranish, what should Randy do to me now? Or what should he say to me?
Definitely has to say something to keep you in pace. Make sure you attend those meetings.
Yeah. And what happens, Ranish, if he just ignores it?
Consequences.
Like what?
And for a project by itself, or is just like friend to friend?
No, like for the project itself. Like if I'm one of his team members, I just don't show up to our meetings, and Randy just kind of blows it off. Like, well, whatever. I know Eric's busy. What's going to happen to our team?
Well, we're going to be shorted some way or the other. Either going to have to make his task, like for example, make him do something that'll actually benefit the team.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And what happens if Alex is like, wait a second, why am I showing up to all these meetings and Eric's not showing up and Randy doesn't seem to care? Then all of a sudden, those 8 o'clock meetings don't seem very interesting to Alex either, do they? And now science is kind of like, I'm not coming to these anymore either. And then Locksmith's like, you know what? No one else is here. Why am I still coming to these? And then it's a real problem, and the whole entire project falls apart. So we need to have that norming where those boundaries are established. Hey, we have a meeting every morning, 8 a.m., 15 minutes, and you have to be here. If you can't come, you have to call or email me beforehand to tell me that you're not going to make it. Otherwise, it's expected that you be here. It's the norming. And the last part is the performing. It's the get stuff done phase. Okay? So you have the honeymoon phase, where it's like, we're so excited to see each other, to meet each other, to work on this project. We're going to be the best team ever, to the, oh, wow, wait, that person is a human being just like I am. And they make mistakes just like I do. And we have conflict and we have issues. And we end up like, this couple on the park bench that are kind of annoyed at each other. But then what do? We say, let's make some boundaries. Let's establish those together so that we can get here ultimately where we want to go, performing. I have a stretch question for anybody who's feeling ambitious today. Someone want to raise their hand and tell the class, why can't you just go from honeymoon to performing? Like, why can't you just show up and just, boom, right away, you're a high performing team? Why do you think this other stuff needs to happen in between? Mr. Hernandez.
So I'm assuming that you can't go straight into performing, because if you're always in the honeymoon phase, you won't see what the actual problems are.
Right.
So if you need to take a step back, and like during the storming phase, that's what you do, and you realize what's wrong, and like that's when you can go ahead and fix it in the next phase.
I couldn't agree more. I'll have my 10-year wedding anniversary here in May. Thank you very much. I'm very proud of that. And I have friends who tell me like, oh yeah, me and my partner, we never fight. And I'm like, that's not normal. You do realize that, right? Like, that's just not normal. Like, you probably should at least have some fights and obviously make up and be good. But if you just, everything's a honeymoon all the time, that's probably not healthy. Okay. So absolutely right, Yoel. You have to have that storming phase to realize what are people capable of. Mr. Renish.
Yeah, I was just gonna add on to Yoel about that. If you don't have these phases prior to getting started, these phases might come up in while you're actually working and like slow things down.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So you try to skip all these things, and then you get into the performing phase, and all of a sudden, all this starts happening, the storming, and they're like, oh gosh, we have to go back again, and that puts a clog into the machine. So you as a leader on a project, how do you manage people while they're in the different phases? This is a very simple breakdown of what that can look like. The very first one, when they're forming in that phase, you are a teacher. All right. Like I said, they're excited. They think this is gonna be the best project ever. We're never gonna have any problems, but you need to form some clarity. You need a level set. This is what we need to accomplish. This is what needs to happen. The next one, and I want to spend a little bit of time here, is the storming. What happens when your team does have conflict and when things go wrong? Notice how I said you're the coach who provides guidance. I didn't say you're the you're the parent who solves the problem. Why is that? Why should you coach people in the storming as opposed to just jumping in and trying to solve the problem for them? Anybody want to raise their hand and share why they think that's important as a leader? Dondre?
Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, sir.
I feel like you put coach instead of parent, because if you put parent, then the person would become reliant on you. They would come to you with all of their problems and say, Eric, this, can you help me with this? But as opposed to a coach, they are able to use their own thinking and their own discernment to solve those problems the next time it comes up on their own.
That's absolutely right, for sure. What you're doing when you just start babying people and solving all the problems for them is you're not helping them grow up, right? Here's a life hack. The only children in your life should be actual children, right? You like that one? Because if people are like having an issue and a conflict, which is normal, that happens in the workplace, you want to coach, you want to guide, you want to support, but you're not there to be the parent. You're not there to jump in and solve all the problems, because ultimately your team has to learn how to work together. Third phase, norming. You're the mentor. You're providing the support. They're establishing their boundaries. They're figuring out what works for them. You're not jumping in there and micromanaging. You're letting them make their own decisions. That's what's so powerful about the Scrum methodology. And the last thing, they're finally performing. They're at the level where you want them to be. And you're the cheerleader that's offering them encouragement. And you're helping them move along. That is your role as a leader in all four of these areas. Is that pretty helpful? What do you guys think? Like, oh, this kind of makes sense. So I'm going to ask you guys a question in the chat box, and I want you guys to be honest. Let me go ahead and get my notes here. Have a think on this one. This was a very controversial question in my previous class. Let's see if it's as controversial here. Angie Martinez, you are my goals, Eric. Well, Thank you, Angie. You are my goals. All right. So of these four, which one do you see yourself with most with your Europe colleagues? Are you in that forming stage, that honeymoon stage? Are you in that storming stage where you're in conflict with your colleagues? Are you in that norming stage where you're trying to figure out how to work best together? Or are you in that performing stage where it's like, no, we get stuff done when we work together? And keep in mind, let me just give a quick side note. I'm not talking about every single one of your colleagues. I'm talking about the majority of them. All right. Because the reality of it is you're going to be at a different place with every person. But if you had to say 60% of them, I'm in the performing phase. 60% of them, I'm with, the storming phase, which hopefully you're not, because that would be pretty difficult. But which one would you say? The majority of my colleagues, I'm kind of at this phase with them right now. Angie says between storming and performing, 50-50. Okay. So sometimes things are great for Angie. Sometimes things are not so great. Either norming or performing. Brian, interesting. So you still say the honeymoon. Brian, do you mind unmuting yourself and sharing, like, why do you think you haven't experienced the storm yet? Is it just because you're just an incredible person to work with? Is that the reason, Brian?
I mean, apart from that, it's we haven't really encountered any project where like anything major, like a big discussion has happened. I mean, I've been blessed to be with, good workers, I guess. And we all kind of collaborate in our own way, but we get the stuff done in a nice way.
Yeah, gotcha. I'm glad to hear that. And Sophia, you think maybe norming. What are some of the ways that you're like setting boundaries with your colleagues when it comes to like collaboration? Like, what does that look like for you and your teams?
Just like checking in with them, like if I have a project to do, checking in consistently, or like making like group chats and making sure that we are all getting, our portion of the work done, and just if there's like an issue, making sure that we can, we can make up for it or like help the other person. So I feel like I'm kind of in that stage now with people.
That's awesome. That's great. So like there's clear boundaries, people know what's expected of them, and you're able to perform. Excellent. Thank you, Sophia. And for science, you said mostly performing. The majority of people in this section don't have time to cause problems. Yeah, true. And I can't say anything about section A. Very helpful. Thank you. And then Dondre, you said most of your relationships, you're at the performing level. How did you get there? Because it looks like some people are not there yet. What have been some of the mechanisms that you've put in place to make sure that when you get together with your colleagues, you accomplish what needs to get done? It's not. Oh, there he is. All right. Yeah, Dondre.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Pretty much like I'm very upfront. I say I want to get this out of the way. It's important to get as much of it done as quickly as possible. And that's not with everybody. Sometimes I will, relax and take my time and procrastinate a little bit. But for the most part, every one of my group members has been putting in the work, and we're just always on the same page of, all right, let's get this done. Let's do this as quickly as possible.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Very cool. Thank you, everybody who shared out. But that's a really helpful tool for you to think through, where am I at with my team? Where are my teams at with each other? And bear in mind, like when a new person joins the mix, you have to start from the beginning all over again and going through those 4 phases. You can't just show up on day 1 and think you're going to be a high performing team by day 2. These things take time and process. All right. So do you guys remember in Waterfall, we talked about kickoff meetings? Do you recall those? The kickoff meeting is when the team comes together with the stakeholders and they kind of share their plan. So just because, project management wants to make everything confusing, in Scrum, there's a thing called a kickstart meeting, not the kickoff meeting. Don't worry, this won't be on the final, but a kickstart meeting is a little bit different. A kickstart meeting is the team coming together for the very first time. So imagine, the 16 of us that are in this room, we're going to be the Scrum team. We'll be a very large Scrum team, but we're going to come together and we're going to do a project together. And it's our first time ever walking into a room, never saw each other before, never met before, never even as much as interacted. And you're the Scrum master and you're leading the ceremony of us meeting for the first time. In the chat box, what do you think that meeting should include? That very first meeting that we have together. We never met. We have no idea who each other are. It's our first time walking into a room together. It's a kickstart meeting. What should that meeting include in the chat box? A fun fact, introductions. icebreakers, the giving of contact information, getting to know each other, coffee and donuts. I love it. Looks like a lot of the things, strengths and weaknesses. Interesting, Randy. I love it. And intros to each other and the communication methods. Yep. Dondre, I see your hand.
I don't remember exactly what it was called, but when I believe her name was Sarah, right, who came to present about persuasion.
Rachel, yeah.
Rachel, sorry.
It's okay.
She was talking about painting like a beautiful picture at the end of the journey, but not the journey itself. So having that, so saying like the end goal, like it would be so nice to have X, Y, and Z kind of like motivating the group.
Yeah, so like a vision of what we're going to accomplish together by the end. Yeah, I love it for sure. So here's some of the things that I wrote down. A lot of them you already mentioned. The very first thing's an icebreaker. So some people already mentioned introductions, you know, a fun fact about yourself, a strength and weakness. All those things are icebreakers. With your hand raised, why is food on there? Why should we include food in this first meeting together? Mr. Hernandez.
So I feel like eating is one of those things that people are kind of embarrassed of doing, which is I find really weird. But like I don't know, I feel like once you start to eat with someone else, you get more comfortable. And I guess it just builds a good relationship, and food makes everyone happy. So
True. Rasines, you have a very philosophical answer. Food is the primordial icebreaker. Can you talk more on that?
Well, actually, no, but it's just everybody, ever since human connection has been started mostly as a way of getting food for ourselves. So I suppose it would be the best aggregator.
I couldn't agree more. That goes back to our most primal instincts: hunting,
Hunter-gatherers,
hunting, preparing food, growing food, all that, eating food. People have been gathering for a very long time over food. Now, one thing I do want to make a clarifying comment on is just be very careful what food you choose to cater. All right. Some people are vegetarians, some people are vegans, some people don't eat pork, some people don't eat red meat, some people don't eat fried food, and the list goes on and on. So I always tell people, if you want to cater a meeting, you do wraps with like different types of proteins, some of them vegetarian, some of them not, and you do a salad. That normally keeps everybody happy. Do wraps and salad. It's like satisfying enough for those who have big appetites, and it's good for people who have diets that are particular, that they don't eat certain foods. I did training one time for Salesforce.com. 30 plus leaders were there, and it was in the middle of the country in Indianapolis, and they ordered not Thai food, Indian food. And of the 30 people that were there, like 25 were like, yeah, I don't eat this kind of food, which I love Indian food. I was like, more for me. So I was happy, but it was like one of those things that's kind of like an oversight. Like maybe you should think about your audience before you order food for everybody. So make sure you keep that. And if someone, I think mentioned earlier, I think Alex, you said coffee and donuts. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. People like coffee, donuts, and also fresh fruit is good too for those who prefer not to eat donuts. I normally would include a short training on Scrum, the methodologies, how we're going to do things, a team vision, a team name, a team contract. And then I think Precious mentioned this, communication methods. How are we going to work together? How are we going to stay in touch? How are we going to stay into contact? So any questions on the kickstart meeting, not to be confused with the kickoff meeting? I know they couldn't make it more complicated for us, could they? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this into practice. I'm going to send you guys into groups of 4, and you're going to go and you're going to imagine that you are a Scrum team, okay? And you have been chosen by Year Up to build a Year Up app that's going to help future participants in the program, okay? So what you need to do is you need to have a vision statement for your app. What is the goal? You have a team name. The more creative, the better. How's your team going to keep each other accountable through a contract? What are your team roles and what are your communication methods? All right. This will also be there when you go into your rooms. So I want you to take 10 minutes, have a chat, knock out that list, and let's hear what you come up with on the other side. Any questions before you go off to your rooms? All right, enjoy. Hey, Sarai, you there? Oh, there we go. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. First things first, I want to hear your creative team names. So in the chat box, what team names did you come up with? I see some people laughing. I see some people looking disgusted. I see people saying, wait, we're supposed to have a team name? This must have been a point of contention. Randy and the Randettes. Okay. Randy, can you unmute yourself and tell us how you came up with that name?
Well, I'm the project owner, so you know, me and my team, we have the Randy and the Randettes.
Gotcha. Sounds like a band. Thank you. Alex, did it say that out, or is it just YUATA Europe? How do you,
could
say
say
that?
it out for fun.
Yata Europe App Team Alpha. Awesome. Love it. Tyrell, you went with the Dream Team. All right. Angie, One Shot. Dondra, your team's called LOL. All right. The Project Masters and Nevermind. Okay, we got quite the team names here going. All right, let me talk to the Dream Team. Who's your Scrum Master, Dream Team? That's Tyrell's team.
I am the Scrum Master of the Dream Team.
Okay, Scrum Master, Master Tyrell, what is the vision for your team?
So our vision is to represent Europe, a program that is dedicated to closing the opportunity divide between communities in a more modern way.
Excellent. I love it. Thank you so much. Let's talk with One Shot. Who is your Scrum Master?
I just made that up on the last second. It was Alex.
All right.
It was
So
Alex.
Alex is our Scrum Master. Okay.
No, well, she means the name we agreed upon was the Iwata thing, but she just wrote that because she didn't exactly like it.
I know this is a very controversial
She's our
part.
Scrum Master, though. She's our Scrum
Oh,
Master.
Angie's a Scrum Master. Okay, Angie, did you guys get to like communication methods? How are you guys going to stay in touch with each other during the project? You did. What are you going to use? What technology?
We're gonna use email for answering, and then like Zoom or Google Meets to see each other through the camera.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Master Angie. Randy and the Randettes. Who's the Scrum Master of that crew?
I am.
So yeah, Soraya's Scrum Master.
All right, Soraya, Scrum Master. What are some of your team contract? Like, how are you going to make sure that you keep working together and that you have a good boundaries in your relationships? What were some of the things we talked about?
So when I was talking with my team, we all made sure that everybody felt valued so that everybody would make sure that they did their part. So I made sure that I gave everybody a role that they were comfortable with and something that they also wanted to choose for themselves. So nobody felt like thrown in at all. So I think that also would keep everybody focused on the ball and just putting their best foot forward because, you know, they're stakeholders now because you really wanted to do this job.
Excellent. All right. I love that. So you help them understand what role do you want to do where you feel valuable. Great. And the Project Masters. Who is our Scrum Master from the Project Masters?
We didn't really get to choose, but I'm going to volunteer Renish.
All right, Renish, you're the Scrum Master. So what was the conversation like in your group? What did you guys discuss?
Well, the hardest part for our group is figuring out our name. We thought that would have been the easiest part, so we started first with that, but we ended up putting that for last.
Gotcha. Did you guys get to like team roles or communication or vision or any of that? Oh, you did. Okay, so what's your team vision?
So our team vision's overall with the app. We are trying to solve a problem. So in some cases, we might start a problem and then eventually fix that problem, like in the current world right now.
Right.
What else for the that was vision statement. Now for the what else?
Yeah, just
communications. For the communications, we're going to be using Discord, given the fact that we're able to have multiple sections of rooms. We can also there's actually also a feature to have calls and we can also video chat, so it's all in one. We were gonna go with Google Slack, but I feel like they're not as they wouldn't compete with Discord, especially currently right now.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Also, yeah, there's one more thing, right?
Yeah, your communication, what was your contract? How are you going to make sure that you keep each other accountable? What's that look like for your team?
Brian can actually go over that. He actually put more effort into that.
Okay,
yes,
so
we had like a little
Brian,
Jamboard, and we put weekly check-ins with the team, as well as their pay is going to be salary plus bonus for time effectivity.
Wow. Okay. So, and Brian, are you the product manager? Is that what Renish has determined since you made him Scrum Master? He's making you product manager. Is that what's happening here?
Yep.
All right. Sounds great. All right, Justice Santiago, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, Justice, I have $1 million question for you. Are you ready for it?
No. Yes.
Should we take a 5-minute break now or end class 5 minutes early? Which one, Justice?
It seems I'm getting a few answers here. I got more earlies than breaks.
Is that your final answer, Justice Santiago?
Yes.
Okay, we'll end class 5 minutes early. Let's just shake it out a little bit. We got 20 more minutes or so to go. All right, let's do it. Thank you, Justice, for that. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but you performed greatly. All right, so in Scrum, you will hear people talk about a thing called a user story. Okay, a user story is just a really fancy way of determining what does the stakeholder want, what is the end product they're looking for. I found this. I apologize. It's a very ugly graphic, but it does the job. Let me go ahead and pull it up. But this is an example of prepping a project in Scrum. So you see on the left there. Let me go ahead and get my remote. You have the story, the user story. So basically, the final stakeholder comes to you and says, listen, I want this app to have blank. All right. And that goes onto a column on the left. And then you, as a Scrum team, you create to-do lists for everything that needs to happen for that user story to be made manifest. So you have the to-do list, which is what needs to still happen. That's the backlog. You have what's in process right now. And then you might have a verify feature as well. So you're saying, I've done this, but I want someone else on the team to check it. And then you have a done pile on the other end. But user stories are really powerful because you need to gather that data before you even start the process. And you kind of move it along the path there to make sure that you get the end result exactly what the user wants. So we're going to create our own user story experience. Let me go ahead and pull up my Jamboard. I don't know how many of you guys remember using this. I think, did we do a Jamboard yet together? I don't know if we did. Do you guys know what a Jamboard is?
Yeah, we've done it in other classes.
Oh, you have? Okay, so you guys are pros. All right, so here's your link. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Yoel, can you see that okay?
Yes.
Thank you. So on the left, there's a little feature here, the sticky note feature. Type in the sticky note, what do you think are necessary applications that we need on our app? So some people in the previous class said we need to make sure Schoology's on there. We should have all the professors' links on there, and the list goes on and on. So with the sticky note function, you can type in, I want office hours plus links, whatever it is, and then you press save. And then when you're done, you can hit cancel. You can move out of there, and then you can put it down. We can take a look at it. A like button. That'd be cool.
I have a question, Eric.
Yep.
My group and I also had this kind of confusion. So which perspective do you want us to take a look at it as we're the project managers from like Gear Up, or are we like a subcontracted entity that's building the app?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You are the project team. You are still participants at Year Up, and you have to have the first edition of this app done by January. So you have 1 month to complete it. And that's going to bring us to our next interactive here in a few minutes, because you have to look at all these things and determine what order or what sequence we're going to put them in. Like, what's the most important thing to do first? Because we only have a month. And then if we get that done, what's the second most important thing? And the list goes on. Also, by the way, sometimes Jamboard can be a little bit finicky. So once you finish putting your contribution, or if you have more than one, that's fine too. Go ahead and leave the screen. That way people can still log in. Sometimes people aren't able to access it. So we have current grades, calendar plus Zoom links, office hours plus links, a like button, deliverable notifications, progress tracker, schedule for your classes. Excellent. Let's take about 30 more seconds, add a couple more on there. What should this app have? Just think, if you were a brand new year participant, what would you want to have functionality to on your phone? All right. So I want you to take a moment, look at this list. You still have the link, so you can go ahead and log back in if you need to. Private messages, future days off. Yeah, that would be really helpful, wouldn't it? I love that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you back into your into the same groups that you were just with. If Jessica and Locksmith want to go back to your group, you can, but don't feel like you have to, since you're just observing today. Completely up to you guys. But I'm going to put you back into your rooms, and you have to determine, okay, we have 30 days to do this, our first edition. So we still have our year of responsibilities. We still have the holidays. We still have our break. What can we realistically knock out between now and the first week of January based on this list? Like, this is the user stories. This is what they want. What's going to be our first plan of attack to get done? Any questions on what's expected of you? All right, 5 minutes. See you guys back at 11:30.
Eric, I'm clicking join breakout room, but nothing's really happening.
That's really strange. Let me take a look. Let me move you to a different room.
Yeah, because I clicked on it like 70 times and it's not really taking me.
Is it working now?
No.
All right, let me try this. Let me put you in the waiting room and bring you back in.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Hey, Don, did you get kicked out?
Yeah, my Wi-Fi is not on my side today.
It's okay. Were you with Justice for Nish and Sophia?
I don't. No, I wasn't placed in the group. I didn't get to see who I was with.
Okay, I'll send you a new one now.
Okay, thank you.
links. So all of that can just be kind of put into one calendar. And anytime you click on it, so like even in Outlook, it's like you can add a link. So instead of adding it, it'll already be there. And that link will take you to either Schoology, it'll either take you to Zoom, it'll take you to Discord, however you wanna use it for. And then we focused on the so kind of the same thing of what the last group said. So you know how our deliverables they show up on the side. So we'll have the same thing. So like we'll have a progress tracker, and but instead the deliverables will show up. So like if you completed it, it's green. If it's late, it's yellow, and if it's missing, it's red. And if it's important, it has like an exclamation mark. Yeah, stuff like that.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you so much to Randy and the Randettes. Name TBD. Justice Renish Sophia, who's your product manager? Everyone gets quiet. That's not good.
That's Brian.
Yeah, ours was Brian, but he was.
Oh, that's right. Brian got kicked out. So yeah. Brian got kicked out of the group. So who's going to step up to the plate? Renish is always the Scrum Master. So yeah. I guess that leaves Sophia and Justice. Who's reporting out from your group?
I'll go.
Thanks, Sophia.
So we talked about how we similar to the other groups, we would just do realistically we could get done. What was the deadline? The first week of January?
Yep.
Yeah, so realistically we could probably get done like a calendar that shows all the classes and the links, which would be schedule for the class, and maybe like the office hour links. I'm just looking at the Jamboard, office hour links, and deliverable notifications probably. I think I'm not really sure. I don't do like coding, and I don't know how long things take, but I feel like things like a chat feature and like a progress tracker and stuff, it might take a little more time. So right. I don't know. We were kind of up in the air about those things.
One thing that we're thinking about incorporating is also like a color code scheme, but the color code scheme, it doesn't go with like completion or whatnot, but it also goes with level of importance. So for example, especially in the calendar or whatnot, you don't also have to worry about the dates, looking at dates, when it's due. It's also like a matter of level of importance. For example, projects, PowerPoints, overall group projects, it's gonna have like, for example, like a color of red or green, whatever your customization is. You can also customize for the colors, whatever you feel fit. So you'll know which is more important for the week.
That'd be really interesting too, is if you create AI where it was like, like there was like a different like color codes based on how long it will take. Like a discussion board, that'll take you 10 minutes, right? But this essay is going to take you 2 hours, and it would like tell you like all that. So, oh shoot, I got to hurry. And then they get like a notification pop up like, hey, this is due in 24 hours. This is due in 12 hours. You haven't done it yet. Like, oh shoot, I better hurry up and do it. Man, I'm telling you guys, we're going to make billions. So whoever does it, I will sue you like those guys did Mark Zuckerberg. Whatever, I forget their names, the twins who rode Crew. But yeah, I'll be that person. All right. Actually, I don't really care that much. All right. Brian, Roscience, and Tyrell and Jessica as well. Who was what did you guys say? Who was a product manager?
It was Dondre, but then we got Brian.
Gosh, this is so complicated. So who wants to share what you guys chatted about? Hey,
okay.
We're all waiting for you, because once you guys talk, class is over. So we'll wait here all day.
We said that we would focus on getting private messages with colleagues and staff, and having office hours and links, because they kind of go hand in hand together. And then we said we would focus on getting a chat feature and deliverable reminders.
Great. Love it. Thank you so much, group. Appreciate that. Yoel, thank you for stepping in and being a great assistant instructor. Can we give Yoel a clap? Appreciate that. Do you mind reading the deliverables that I do this week?
Of course, Eric. So it says, watch 20-minute video. What is Scrum? And post thoughts by tonight night at 11:59.
I don't know how that happened, I swear.
Wait,
No, it's okay.
Eric, I have a question.
What's your question, Tyrell?
I got the question. Well, I got the answer earlier. Do we still have to do this?
Oh,
Do what?
You mentioned that your other class, you put up an ultimatum.
Yes, you do still have to do it. I said the ultimatum was for the one student who could get the answer right. But I never said it beforehand. So yes, you still have to do it. It's a discussion board, Tyrell. It'll take you 20 minutes. Come on. Yes, you still have to do it. Watch the video, respond. Thank you for clarifying. Everyone's required to do it. Please continue, Mr. Hernandez.
A little unfair, but okay. Respond to at least two posts by
They're still doing it to the
Thursday.
other class, just so you know. They're still doing it as well. Everyone's doing it. All right.
Okay. Well, that's just because they didn't know it. Well, anyways, respond to at least 2 points by Thursday night at 11:59 p.m. Also, elevator speech video due Thursday at 11:59 p.m.
Thank
Good
you,
man,
Yoel.
Tyrell. Always get promises in writing.
Always got the promises right. Where science is right, if it's not in writing, it didn't exist. Also, just to clarify, you do not have to do a 3-minute long video, only a 1-minute long video. All right. So 1-minute video due Thursday, answering the question. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Let's also thank our guest for joining us today. Hope to see you guys in Europe next year. And have a great rest of the day, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Eric. Bye-bye.
Wait, Eric, before you go, can I talk to you, please?
Sure.
Always Dondre.
Yeah, the curious students who want to grow. Yes, sir.
As you know, I wasn't in class yesterday. I wasn't feeling well. I still have a little cold. I tried to email you, but the email didn't go through.
Yeah, our whole entire Outlook system went down over the weekend, and we had no access to email all day yesterday. So that's why I didn't